if you click on that, you get a wiki page. And you can just look at my screen as I scroll through the wiki page. Are you all on the wiki page now? Hello, I'm not getting response.
Yes.
Are you all on the wiki page?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the Mandelbrot set, which Mandelbrot, the guy who really made this concept of fractal popular. He actually was not the first one study this particular set. It was started much earlier, but he did some contribution in the 80s. And because his work on general in fractal, and this somebody a little bit later named this particular set called Mandelbrot set. So that's how somehow his name get associated with this, even though he was not the first one to start it, and he was not, I think, the one who really made the important contribution. But he is the one best known for study of fractal, and he wrote a popular book in the early 80s about the fractal. Okay, so the set is defined as the following. It's a set of complex number, right? Now you're all familiar with complex number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so, and then we have a mapping. You map a complex number to another complex number. The mapping is defined in this fz equal to z squared plus c, where c is a parameter. So there's one complex parameter to this map, right? And the Mandelbrot set is defined as all the c value such that this iteration, this map iteration, would be bounded as we start from initial point z equal to 0. Right, so you start the iteration with z, you choose a c, you start this map with initially 0, you keep doing it, and you determine whether for that particular c this map will go to infinity or not. If it does not go to infinity, then namely it's bounded, then you say that it's belong to the set. The C belong to set. So that is the definition of the Mandelbrot set. Are you guys all clear?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it's about a lot of history here about the study Mandelbrot set, and I'm not going to go through that. So the formula is simple. Is EM. So this now is just like the set like the mapping we started, one-dimensional map. Except this is a two-dimensional map. It's a map of complex number to another complex number, right? And here is a picture on the right, a picture of black. It got some basic property, namely you can be cast in terms of relate to logistic map with certain particularly for the value along the Leo axis. If you study the Leo axis and then say what number belong to the Mandelbrot set, that turned out to relate to logistic map. So yes, so it got some interesting relation to logistic map too. And in particular, do you see this this figure here where my mouse clicking?
Yes.
I'm going to blow this up. Yeah. So you can see here's a Mandelbrot set, and if you just look at the Leo axis, which is this line, you find out that for all the number within this, between this point, which is a which is a quarter, all the way to this point, which is a I think it's it's a 3/4 minus 3/4. If you using this transformation that they talk about it, this turn up is mapping this R value between where we get the periodic orbit and this point is in fact is where we get the first bifurcation. So this now all upon here is period doubling. all the point here along this line, in fact, it just converge into certain fixed value. Where all the point along this line, this segment line is converged to period doubling. And then you have period doubling again here, and then eventually here you get to chaos. So you can see, and then there's a window. You see there's a window of period 3 here. There's a window here where you get a period 3. So every of this feature in logistic map, in fact, map into some feature along this line, because you need to zoom in to see the individual feature on this zooming line. So it kind of be interesting. So it relates to logistic map. There are some other more sophisticated things to study, so-called cardioid and periodic bob, which is relate to study this individual bob nearby. I won't go through that. Now, Mandelbrot set also relate to Julia set, which I'm going to talk also a little bit. It's also very pretty. And then, of course, they are both belong to a more general family called hyperbolic map. And now, of course, a very interesting feature of Mandelbrot set is exhibits this self-similarity. Namely, if you zoom in a small region, it look like a large region. Okay, I'm not going to show you some of those pictures. All right. So that's now. You know, if you have interest, you can read through this wiki page, but we won't go through this. But here's some interesting, pretty picture of a Mandelbrot set. Right. So we're going to do this ourselves. So I'm now switching to the notebook I created, and did I put this up already? I think I may not have put it up here. I'll put it up after the lecture, and so you can play with it. It's rather. So I want to now to step through this part of code because it's rather simple, and I would like you to fully understand what we're doing here. So again, the Mandelbrot set is defined by this mapping for all the C, such that this mapping is bounded as you iterate, right? So I'm going to now just study a complex C within certain range. So the first range I'm studying is x1, x2 is between -2.5 and 1, 0. That is the real part of the C. And then here is the imaginary part is between -1.4 to 1.4. Okay, so just confined to that region of a complex plane. And then I'm dividing on the x-axis into 960 pixels between these two numbers, and dividing y-axis into 720 pixels. Okay, so you can choose this, but I'm just saying up. So first I'm starting this region. All right, now Cx, Cy, now I'm going to assign C value, okay? So basically, between x1 and x2 are evenly distributed into 960 points. So that would be Cx, so real part. And Cy is between minus y1, between y1 and y2 I evenly distributed into imaginary part. And then put x and y together as a complex number. This is what this statement does, right? It's basically making tile. So the x coordinate of a particular pixel is the real part. The y coordinate is the imaginary part. Does that make sense? So
yes,
this is just setting up the C. And then I'm going to run all this C and then do certain number of iteration here. I choose iteration 100. And to see whether it's fly away or not. Okay, so initially I set up all the initial point to be 0. Right, that's how the definition Mandelbrot set. Namely, we start at 0 as iterating. So set z equal to 0 for all the C value, and then there's a two variable I'm keeping tracking of it. One is called m, which basically decide whether C fly away or not. If C fly away, I'm going to say that particular pixel is false. And so I started with setting everybody to be true. So initially I say everybody in the set, and then I'm just going to kick out those who are not belong to set. So that's what is initiation. N initially just set to 0. N is to keep track of how many iterations I needed to say to able to decide that this particular iterated map will fly away to infinity. Namely, for that particular C, how many iterations I needed so it fly to infinity. So that is a setting up. So there's there's a Z, which is mapping according to the Mandelbrot set, and M and N, you're keeping track of it, right? So here, let's just start with one iteration for simplicity. So Z is equal to Z squared plus C. So that's the mapping, right? So to this number of iteration, okay, and Z equal to Z squared map. For every iteration, I'm going to examine whether the absolute value of Z is greater than 2 or not. It turned out you can simply show mathematically, which I won't go through that if Z is greater than 2, then it will fly away to infinity. As you keep iterating, it will not bound. So this is a necessary, this is a sufficient condition. This is sufficient condition for this map to fly to infinity. So all I need to check to say, whenever I hit this criteria, then I record that particular number of iterations. Okay, so let me reiterate how we're doing. So we pick a C value. We started with Z equal to 0, and then we iterate it to find out after how many iterations is become absolute value of Z is greater than 2. Then we say Z flies away, and then we make that the M to be false because it no longer belong to Mandelbrot set. And then I also recorded how many iterations it takes to get that point. And then we're going to use this for coloring, for color purpose. So we can show different color on different points. So the rest of few lines here are just to make a plot of all the C value according to the color. And the color scheme in this case is big. So we're plotting the value of that number is number iteration, and I color it according to particular color scheme of jet. So this is just not particular. So it is very, very simple code. Anybody have questions?
Yeah.
Right, it's a very simple code. Right, so it's a kind of so if I run just one set, one iteration, see nothing, right? Because within this window, I'm examining, this is the C value, this imagined power is from minus 2.5 to 1, and the real part is from minus 1.4 to plus 1.4. So everybody belongs to Mandelbrot set if I just do one iteration, all right? Now look what happens if I do 2 iterations. Now, you know, if I do 2 iterations, you immediately is able to see is immediately limit to this big circle. Because, for example, if I started a number which is somewhere here, and the absolute value of the Z is already greater than 2. Right, because my real part, remember absolute value is real part square plus imagined part square, and then take a square root, right? So if my real part is already greater than 2 in terms of absolute value, then clearly Z, the absolute value Z is greater than 2. So they can see this is already outside. That is no longer belong to Mandelbrot set. So in 2 iterations, only all those numbers which has color is in this big circle is belong to Mandelbrot set. Right? Now I will do one more iteration. So let me just do 5 iterations now. So now you can see After first iteration, you kick up at this point, because this point does not belong to Mandelbrot set. After second iteration, you kick up at this point, the color blue one. And then after third iteration, you kick up this green one. After fourth iteration, you kick up this orange one. And the only thing at fifth iteration is only this point remain possible belong to Mandelbrot set. You guys all see this coloring, how this develop and relate to the iteration?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to run more iteration. So let's run 100 iteration. See, here is a beautiful set. It's only those all this what do you call blood color. This is very reddish color. Those are belong to Mandelbrot set. Okay, and look at this boundary. The boundary has infinite complex structure. Now we have finite resolution on this screen. We can zoom in to see individual part, and of course I will need to run more iteration to resolve a finite resolution of this things. But you can see it is a pretty picture. And you notice that, for example, you take this piece, for example, it look like the big piece. So therefore it has self-similarity. You know, this whole thing is look like this whole thing, right? This whole thing. So in fact, let me do that. So we do 100. Let me run 200 iteration. So I get some scale. And now I have different way of coloring things. Okay, to make a picture, you know, if I don't do this line, basically I have 100 color for different because I can be all the way. No, I have 200 color. Okay, so let me run that. So that's in principle, two different coloring. But I don't know whether the color palette actually has 200 coloring. So that in principle has 200 different colors, but it's very difficult to see this teeny tiny step. So I did a little bit trick to say I'm going to modular this color. Now notice this is outside this loop. I'm going to modular. I'm just going to confine to 20 color scheme. So I'm using this 20 color as I keep going. Right? So I'm doing a modular of this. So it looks pretty. I spent a lot of time last night and this morning to play with around all this color. And the rest of the thing you can see I play all different colors. You can see it's kind of pretty. Right. Now I also have different coloring schemes here. So I could use jet, for example, or could I use this HSV, which is a different kind of color scheme, and you look very different. I mean, the shape it looks same, but the object has appearing is different. So you get different coloring. Okay. Now let's just zoom in this region, for example. And take a look at this so that is this is the second set of the x value. So I'm redefine x value and y value. They x1, x2. Now I'm zooming now from minus 1.5 to minus 1, and the y between 0.1 and 0.4. I'm zooming that. I'm going to reverse back to my jet coloring. There you go. See, so I'm zooming in this so you see this region that I'm zooming in, and you can see all this feature here. This feature look like whole thing. look like they lasting. And in fact, I can further zoom into some other region here, for example, and that will be one step more zooming, which is second range I use here. There you go. So, and then you get, remember the previous one we were looking at this, and I zooming that tiny things, then is give you this structure. And then if you zoom in this region, if you give you further structure, for example, here is between, I would say between 0.116 and here's one, so 116 and 115, for example, 1.16, 1.15, and then between 0.22 and 0.23. So that's just zooming this small window, this small window, and it should look like it's original. So we can zoom in one more time. So we say, what is the region? So we want to say 116 and 115. So I would say 16 to 15, and it's 22 to 23. So it's another even smaller window. Oh, I made a typo.
You want 23 and not 283, right?
Oh, I want a 23. That's right. Yes, on a 23. Now it's take longer because take longer. Oh, did I look at a different region, long region?
It looks like most of what you're seeing is like the actual Mandelbrot set, and you're missing the boundary.
I'm missing the boundary, so let me go back to. So what value should I use?
Maybe 0.01 over.
01
so
to the
1.17 and 1.16 maybe.
Let's see. No, I think it's that the Y value had to be a little bit higher up, right? I think the interesting feature is up there, right?
Yeah, that too.
So maybe this is not. Let's do one at a time. So maybe 2.3 to 2.4. I mean, is that 100 times, 200 times? Let's do 100 times. See what. Should be going a little bit faster. No, it's all this me. Okay, let me go back to earlier. So clearly, I'm not zooming into right region. I said I want to zoom in into this region, right? This region is between 1.1, 1.2, and between 0.2 and a 0.3, 0.2 and a 0.3. Right, minus 1.2, minus 1.1, right? So that should be boxing this window. Point 2 and the 0.3. So this is the right 0.2 and 0.3. Yes, so that's correct. And now I want to zoom in into this region, for example. Well, I don't think I should keep going this thing, because you can do this forever, and it just you can see all this complexity, and if you do more iteration, you can go finer structure, and it just get the more, you know, if you actually zooming this whole thing, for example, it look like whole big Mandelbrot set. You get this filament going through this, so you get a lot of. It's an interesting picture, and this one actually one of the prettiest picture I generated so far. I like this one. It's a very nice picture. Okay, so that's the Mandelbrot set. The Mandelbrot set is very much related to Julia set. Julia set definition is very similar to Mandelbrot set. So here's this definition of Julia set. So Julia set say same mapping is to say FCZ equal to Z squared plus C. Okay, in Julia set is to say you fix a C value, okay, and then you examine all the Z value, initial Z value, such that this iterated map will not fly to infinity, namely bounded. And the set is a collection of the initial Z, not initial C. You just pick one C value, okay, and you choose a arbitrary Z, and initial Z naught, and see whether it fly to infinity or not, whether it's bounded or not. Okay, so it's a very back. Well, I'm temporarily lost the internet connection. Now it's back. Are you hearing?
Hello. Yes.
Okay. I'm sharing again. So did you hear say what I say about Julia set? Let's just repeat. The Julia set is defined by the same equation, but except I choose a AC value, so C is a fix, and then examine this map for all different possible initial Z. For all those Z, initial Z value where this mapping is bounded, those values are collected, is called Julia set. So for every C value, then there is one Julia set. If you change a different C value, you get different Julia set. Does that make sense?
So a Mandelbrot is just for one specific C?
Mandelbrot is actually a collection of a C, but it started with initial Z only at 0.
Okay.
While the Julia set, I fixing the C, but I examine all possible different initial starting Z. So that's a difference. Okay, it's defined by the same map. So here you can see that it is essentially the same coding, and so I set AC value. Okay, but now I tie a Z, set initial Z to all possible value in the range of x1, x2, and y1, y2. Okay, so same thing in this range of x1, x2, y1, y2. I pick one C value. I examine in this domain which of this pixel will fly to infinity as a starting point. Okay, and the criteria is essentially the same thing. You know, when this absolute Z is greater than 2, then yes, then it's fly away, and then I keep track of this things. Number of iteration. Here I use modular 10, modular 100. I use 100 color just to get the difference in. I use the color scheme jet. So basically, is the same thing. So let me run this. So here's the Julius set. It's related to Mandelbrot set. So you can see that they get a very different and of course, if you zoom in any of these regions, it look like it's set similarity. So I need to put a scale here. So I can put this where the scale function is. I should put this things. This would say put up a scale. Let me put. Oh, what a second. Oh, I need to put this axis. There we go. So now I have a scale here. So let's choose a region to zoom in, for example. Let's just look at this cluster, for example. So this is between 0.5 and the 1 on y-axis. And on the x-axis, it will be somewhere between, I don't know, this will be between minus 0.3 to plus 0.2. Okay, so let's do that. So minus 0.3 to plus 0.2, and y1, y2 is, let's say 0.5 to 1. So let's zooming into that. Yeah, so you can see I got this individual one. You can see that it look like similar, and you know, if we wanted, we can zoom in this region 0.7, 0.8, and between 0 and 1. So we can do one more time, and it essentially will do the same thing. Say 0, 1. 2 to, is it 0.2? A point I'm choosing here is between 0.6 and 0.7. So 0.6, 0.7. Yeah, so you can see, you know, this feature just keep going infinity. Now, of course, you can also, by changing C, change the C is fixed C. So let me go back to initially larger zoom, and then let's just change the C value. Pick a C value you like. What C value you would like to change? Here my initial is 0.4. Pick a C value you like and see what it looks like. Somebody volunteer. Come on. Why I see your picture. Pick a real number. Why? You pick a number. Huh?
1 plus I.
1 plus I. So it'll be 1 like this. Let's see what it looks like.
Yeah.
So you guys can create something to as your self logo. Well, they don't have a lot of complex. I guess we need to iterate more.
That was a terrible choice, clearly.
Matthew, you pick one.
Try 0.5.
0.5. And the imaginary part?
0.
0. It's a very regular structure, but it get all this boundary here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a very regular shape. So you can see, you can get a many different set. Now there's a reason why. What is my initial value? I forgot. I want to keep that value because that gives me a pretty picture. Did I put 0.4? Was it 0.4, 0.6? Was it what I choose?
I think it was 0.6.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's just do a little bit variation. Just see whether it's make a small variation. You see a small, it's just tiny bit of variation. You can see it's looking like similar shape, but this is now it's certainly not quite the same. Yeah. So you can see you can play these things around, and it will give you a lot of fun just to spend some time. Yeah, so you can see even you just change it a little value, it look different. So that's it. I just change it, just go back to 0.6. That's one. Somehow that particular value generate a pretty bit picture. Okay. Well, so that is all about the fractal, and that's a lot of math stuff related to Mandelbrot set and Julius set if you're interested. But this is to give you some idea of now how these days actually people use AI to generate the pretty picture, and here is some other. Oh, that was the one website I forgot where I go. Here it is. I have another website here. Algorithmic define art, and you can see showing some of this gallery I'm showing here, and it's a very nice collection of the picture. So, for example, this. So it's a lot of this picture are generally a similar fashion. Is by defining the map and then using certain kind of criteria to coloring by iteration. So you can see many of these things have self-similarity. It's all because they're generated by the mapping. They're generated by mapping. So some of these are very nice pictures. So if some of you eventually going to develop a gang and a character, need a costume and things like that, this would be one way to generate a very unique pattern. So, and with that, I think we're done with today's lecture, and I see you on Thursday. What's today? Thursday is a Thursday day homework due?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you guys okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all for today.
All right, bye.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.